I saw a video today on Instagram that said, just post the effing content. So this is me posting the effing content. I'm Case, this is Vodka Soda, and this is a video about expectations. I'm sure that some of you have seen Love is Blind. Be honest, I know you watched that show. Love is Blind, what a wonderful show. I remember in the first season, I was driven absolutely crazy out of my mind. There was one scene specifically where one of the guys is interviewed, I think they had just proposed to each other as well, and it was all this rage, but they had not met yet. And there was something very, very peculiar that he said in his interview process where he said, I just love the way she makes me feel. And that drove me crazy. And here's why. Your expectations for the relationship are probably going to be the biggest determining factor of its success in the future. And that person said something that I think is a very popular thing to say. I love the way she makes me feel. I love the way he makes me feel. They make me feel strong and capable. They make me feel beautiful and just loved. And this is a very common thing in our culture. We get it from movies and Hollywood and music and pretty much anything you consume. So it's natural and it makes sense. But here's the problem. I love the way she makes me feel. I love the way he makes me feel. That's very self-centered. It's selfish. It's a reflection of what that person is bringing to you, not what you're bringing to that person. And I got to tell you something. My wife and I have only been married for 4 years. Let me try that sentence again. My wife and I have only been married for 4 years, but I know so clearly the day that I realized that I loved her, because she was explaining to me a very specific situation that she was going through in her life at the time. And I had a moment of clarity where I realized that all my dreams, all my expectations, all my hopes, everything that I was currently headed towards in my life, I was willing to give every one of them up to completely change the direction that I was going to take my life in order to help her through the circumstance she was in. And we're not talking like some crazy, dreadful situation. She just simply was going in one direction and wanted to go in another. And I realized that I would sacrifice all of my dreams to help her in that transition. Now, that doesn't mean that I should do that. It doesn't mean that that is like the answer to love. But what it does mean is that I had a moment of realizing that it was better for me to be completely selfless with my plans to help her achieve her own. And that was the day that I realized I really did love her. Because if I didn't love her, I don't really think I'd be willing to sacrifice anything of my own for her. I would hope that she would do the opposite for me, if anything. And that's my point. When you're watching these shows, when you're listening to these when you're listening to music, when you are pretty much consuming anything that our culture says you should, most of it is being on the receiving end. How is being with this person going to affect me in my life? How does it make me feel? What does it make me want to do? These are not bad questions, guys. These are not things that you shouldn't think or feel, but they are not reasons to go be with that person immediately. And certainly on live TV, it's not a reason to go propose to someone hoping for the best. Now, I understand that show is really there to just get people famous and make a bunch of money, and it's just pure entertainment. But it's also real people with real lives and real feelings and real emotions. So it kind of bugged me, if I'm being honest with you. And I'm no expert. I've only been married for 4 years. However, things in our relationship so far go very well, and so many things go very poorly, and they have almost entirely been revolved around my expectations. Not my wife's, my expectations. I would love to get into some of that more in the future, but right now let's focus back on the subject at hand. If I had married my wife because of the way that she makes me feel, what happens when she stops making me feel that way? What do I do? Who do I become? Are we still compatible? Do I still want to be in the relationship? Or would I just find somebody else who then makes me feel that way again and toss the old relationship out? Probably happens more than you think. I was at a wedding recently where one of the toasters made a comment that I think they meant well. I don't know this person personally, so I'm not going to harp specifically on them. But the statement, I'm not so sure about. Because the statement was essentially that when you guys are going through hard times, he's addressing the husband and wife, when you both are going through hard times, I hope that you realize that you are each other's comfort. You are each other's strength. You are each other's backbone, essentially. But what happens if the other person's the reason you're going through a hard time? You are two different humans. You have two different opinions. There are really big subjects in life and challenges that you're going to have to go through together. What happens if that significant other is the reason you're pissed off? Are they still your backbone? Are they still your reason for strength? Somebody you can lean on? Now, again, I don't think that's specifically what he meant, but it was such a generalized statement, you have to address something like that. The point is that the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, or potentially the person you have already married, is not always going to be your best friend. Sometimes you guys are going to be at odds like crazy. But what's going to make the relationship strong is your ability to recognize your own expectations of yourself and that person and communicate them. Because the more clear that you are able to communicate, I realized that I thought you were going to behave this way when I asked you to, and you didn't, and it bothered me. And I need to voice that. Not necessarily because I'm right and you're wrong or vice versa, but because you need to understand my emotions, because I'm a different human being than you are, and I can't expect that you can read my mind. So that's a whole subject of its own. But I hope this is helpful. Comment below on things that drive you crazy as well. Maybe we can discuss those subjects in the future. I would love to help out.